this world very seriously. And ultimately, while the show does deal with a lot of supernatural elements and vampires and vampire culture, it's a show about relationships. So I think it's actually going to be a lot closer to that aspect of 6 Feet Under than people might expect.
Next question.
Assuming that the show goes on for as many seasons as there are books, I was just wondering, Alan and Charlaine, who your ideal casting of Quinn would be.
Please explain to who Quinn is.
I don't think that way. I don't think of ideal casting until it's time to cast, and then I start looking at actors who are being submitted. Frankly.
Charlaine, explain who Quinn is too, by the way.
Quinn is a word tiger. He's bald and, well, he shaves his head, and he's very big and muscular. And, you know, something of my personal homage to Vin Diesel.
That's funny. I've been watching the HBO on demand stuff, and it looks like there's some kind of an online viral game that I just wondering how that might relate to the show.
Viral game?
Kind of searching websites and finding information.
Well, part of the marketing for the show has been to sort of create the reality of the world, and so there is a lot online. There I don't know if you've noticed it, but there are posters for True Blood, the artificial blood beverage. In fact, True Blood, the artificial blood beverage, is a big sponsor of the Masquerade Ball here at Comic-Con. There are television commercials for True Blood that you can find on the HBO website. There are also PSAs, pro and anti-vampire, pro by the American Vampire League, which is the big official vampire lobby, and con from the Fellowship of the Sun Church, which is a church which is dedicated to wiping out vampires. You can go to both their websites. You can learn about the organizations. You can go to the True Blood website. You can take a test and find out what blood type it would be your ideal favorite flavor. You can also go to lovebitten.net, which is a human vampire introduction service. There's also a blog called Blood Copy, which has been sort of tracing the story of the Great Revelation, which is the vampires' decisions to actually make their presence known to humans after the development of True Blood. It's very clever and very smart, and it's when HBO came to me with these ideas, I was kind of floored with how smart they were, and it tells a lot about the backstory of the show. There's even about a 15-minute segment of a news show called In Focus, which you can see on HBO right now, which is like a 60 Minutes 2020 segment about vampires in America and how they're coming out of the coffin, so to speak, as affecting society. So yeah, there's a lot of that online.
I should probably mention, I'm not sure if any of you have seen the ads, and they're on bus boards and at bus barns. It says True Blood, and it looks like a legitimate beverage, and frankly, it looks like a beer. And I called HBO about it last week. It turns out that they're so provocative, they're so realistic that there's actually been hits on the HBO website from people looking for actual distributors of this beverage. So they're really working. Next question.
I'm a huge fan of the books, and I was just wondering if we're going to see Bubba.
Can you repeat that question? I don't think everyone heard it.
There's a character in the books, Bubba. I was just wondering if we're going to see him.
It's hard for me to answer that question because I don't want to give that away.
So yes.
Sorry.
So it's yes.
As I'm sure everybody is thinking, you've mentioned the True Blood drink. Are there any plans to actually make it a real drink, like a beer or something?
There you go. I'm telling you, there's the consumer, right?
Yes, it's going to be a combination of V8, Valium, Vicodin, and Viagra. Unfortunately, you'll have to get your pharmacist to prescribe it.
Another question for Alan. Just, I was curious how involved the writers are with this sort of viral element of the story, and how you sort of work that into the schedule of writing and producing the show while dealing with all these sort of new media components.
All of the viral marketing materials have been developed by HBO and by a company called Campfire, which is a really, really smart company that was founded by two of the people who made the Blair Witch Project. They have basically done everything, and we have basically vetted it. I've had them send copies of everything they're doing, and the writer's assistant and the script supervisor have gone through it, and they've flagged anything that might not gel with the mythology of our show. And at that point, we give them notes, but for the most part, they've done it all on their own, and I think they've done a really terrific job.
I have to admit that a lot of my interest in True Blood comes from my love of 6 Feet Under, so it's another comparison. One of the reasons I responded to that show was because of the things it had to say to the gay community. And I was just wondering, since True Blood seems to be so much about people and relationships and love and romance, is there anything analogous to 6 Feet Under that it will have to say specifically to the gay community?
Well, it's very easy to actually look at the metaphor of vampires striving for assimilation into a society and see it as a metaphor for gay and lesbian and transsexual and bisexual people. However, I don't think that's the point. I think vampires are a metaphor for any sort of disenfranchised, misunderstood, and feared group. We have gay characters, both human and vampire. There's definitely a place in the world, of this world. So I don't think it will speak specifically to the gay community as pointedly as 6 Feet Under did through the relationship of Keith and David. But it is a world where gay characters exist.